Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Tennessee versus Georgia. And we kind of all know what was at stake coming into this game, right? You had a situation where Tennessee had not beaten Georgia since 2016. This felt like the year the Joey Aguilar hype is through the roof. He's playing awesome, all of that. You get him at home, it's going to happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Final score, and what I'll say this, listen, we're going to talk about the Heupel stuff, the Kirby stuff, the whatever. It's hard for me to be too critical because this was an instant classic, a great back and forth, but Georgia does beat Tennessee 44-41. That is the final score. And I think the big question is, did Josh Heupel and Tennessee lose this game? Did Kirby Smart and Georgia win this game? Let's go ahead and dive in. And I do want to start from the Tennessee perspective, okay? Because for Tennessee fans, listen, I'm not a Tennessee fan. I'm not going to claim I feel your pain. I'm not going to claim that, I can't get out of bed today because of whatever. But what I will say is I know what was at stake. You hadn't beaten them since 2016. This felt like the year. And the game starts out great, right? Joey Aguilar down the field, slicing and dicing, 7 points on the board. I think their first touchdown was like 2.5 minutes into the game. Everybody's tweeting, man, I've never seen anyone go through a Kirby Smart defense like that. They go up 7-0. They go up 21-7. And you think that Tennessee is in complete control, and they largely are. Now, listen, great college football game, great teams. You knew Georgia was going to fight back, and they do. They end up scoring 20 straight points to at one point take that, about a 27-20 lead. Listen, this game, we don't have to go play by play, minute by minute. There's a lot that it came down to, including, as you can see on the bottom of the ticker, that field goal as time expired. But even before the field goal when time expired, what I do want to talk about is the decision before that, because everybody focused on the field goal. By the way, we did an immediate reaction, and I probably focused too much on the field goal myself. But to me, I don't want to say this is where Tennessee lost the game, but I do think it is a conversation to have, because I thought that Josh Heupel, everyone's blaming him for what happened with the kicker as time expired late in the fourth quarter. I thought the possession before, that was the moment where Tennessee had the chance to put their foot on Georgia's throat, and Josh Heupel did not take advantage. What am I talking about? What play, what scenario, what situation? Let's talk about it. So about 8 minutes left. Tennessee on defense. Gunnar Stockton was phenomenal, okay? But the one mistake Gunnar Stockton made, drops back. I think the Joseph's kid strips the ball. Tennessee gets possession deep in Georgia's territory. Fourth quarter, the strip sack, okay? So in that strip sack, in that moment in time, Tennessee is up. What are they up? 35-30, okay? Strip sack, fumble, Gunnar Stockton, basically the only really big mistake that he made the entire game. And so I bring it up because deep in Georgia territory, Tennessee has the ball. They're up 5. And I thought that was a moment in time where Tennessee had a chance to put their foot on Georgia's throat. Had the chance to put the game away. They're up 5 with about 8 minutes to go. You score a touchdown there. It's ball game. It's over. You're up 12 with whatever, 13, 14 to go, or with 13, 14 to go. You're up 12 with 6 minutes to go. And I understand in theory, the game's not over, but the game is kind of over. And so to me, it was a little bit disappointing that Josh Heupel decided to run the ball and then run the ball again. And then run the ball after that. And 3 straight runs sets up a field goal. You do go up 8. Now, I know what people are going to say. Torres, a week ago, you criticized Billy Napier because he was aggressive late in the game. I think the two games are two completely different scenarios, okay? Because in the Florida game, you needed to chew clock. You needed to force South Florida to take timeouts. In the Tennessee game, you're already ahead. You're up 5. And yes, the worst case scenario is that you kick a field goal and you go up 8. But here's my counter. Is there a scenario where you take at least one shot downfield? to at least attempt to make it a 2-score game. You don't. You run 3 straight plays. Now, time does run off the clock, but man, oh man, you're giving Georgia the ball back with a lot of time. Now, I do understand from Josh Heupel's perspective, he's probably sitting there saying, look, we're up 5. If we make this field goal, we're up 8. Georgia has to drive the length of the field. They have to score a touchdown, and then they have to complete the 2-point conversion, and we'll still probably get the ball back with enough time to get into field goal range, which is exactly what happened. So I understand that it's hard to be critical because I understand what Josh Heupel was thinking, but you can't argue with the fact that if they go up 2 scores there, the game is over. So that was frustrating. And then obviously what happened late with the kicker was even more frustrating. To me, 35-30 was much more egregious than what happened with the kicker, but we all know what happened late in the fourth quarter. They get the ball back. Gunnar Stockton does drive the length of the field, by the way. Gunnar Stockton does throw that beautiful touchdown pass, perfect play on 4th down, and then gets the 2-point conversion to tie it up, but you're still in position to win. And we know what happened from there. Josh Heupel essentially icing his own kicker. 3rd down, you try to run one more play. Instead, you get the penalty. You decide to kick it on 3rd down. It's no good. You go to overtime. By the way, the craziest part of the game was, listen, the game ends on the walk-off referee review. I don't know if I've ever actually seen that before, where Tennessee, it's called down on the 1-yard line in overtime. Instead, upon further review, the kid crossed the goal line and ends up with the touchdown. And so we're going to talk about the Georgia perspective in a minute. But to me, the biggest story in this game is Tennessee having their chance, having their moment in time, having the opportunity, and falling short. And listen, I think with Heupel, we have to have 2 separate conversations because you always want to be fair in a situation. This is Billy Napier of Florida, where it's just a total disaster. And I want to give Josh Heupel credit because we have to acknowledge that they are in such a better situation than they were 3, 4, 5 years ago when he took over, right? And I think we have to acknowledge that because I think with Heupel, I see these extremes on both sides. Can't get it done in the big moments, overthinks it, iced his kicker, whatever. And then I see the other scenario of look where Tennessee was when he got there and look where they are now. There's no doubt that this situation is much, much, much better than it was. And so when I look at Heupel, I sit there and say, both things can be true, right? There's no doubt that this program is in a better situation than it was. We all watched the Derek Dooley era. We all watched the Jeremy Pruitt era. We all watched the Butch Jones era. It was a train wreck. We all understand that, right? And we understand what Josh Heupel has done. 2 wins over Alabama, couple wins over Florida. They're clearly in the short conversation of best teams in the SEC. The counter to that is it does feel like there's another level to go. You hope he can get there. And certainly, by the way, here's the other thing. It's not as though other programs haven't been in this situation, right? Georgia plays for a national championship in year 2. And what does it take them? Another 4 years, 3 years to get even back into the championship conversation? So it's not like they're the only program that hasn't yet gotten over the hump. And certainly you'd rather be Tennessee than right now Florida or South Carolina or whoever. But we also have to acknowledge that Heupel in big spots at times has not been great. I remember this being a conversation last year of you start out so well, you have that big win on the road against Oklahoma, and then as the season starts to go on, you say, Heupel plays a little too conservative, and Heupel lets too many, and then you lose at Arkansas, and you say, oh my goodness, that was sort of on Heupel. The offense never really got going. Now, some of it might be on their former quarterback, but I don't think it changes the fact that I do think there is another level to go. And so the question to me, how much is on Heupel? Listen, I do think that loss is largely on him. Now, you feel bad for the kicker. You have to make that kick. I get it. And I do understand that Heupel, I think, again, in his head, when he kicked the field goal to go up 8, in his head, he's thinking, hey, guess what? 1, they're going to have to score, make the 2-point conversion, and then we're still going to have time. So he set it up perfectly. But I also do think late in the game, between going for 3, not even attempting to try and go for 7 there when it was 35-30, I think that cost him. And then certainly, I think even Josh Heupel would acknowledge that he kind of butchered things. So how much falls on Josh Heupel? A lot. It's not only him. And I think we can acknowledge the program is in a billion times better shape than it was. By the way, Tennessee, the schedule is not going to be easy, But, it's a scenario where you can get back into it. And I do think that Tennessee is probably more of a playoff contender now than a lot of people thought. But I also do think if you want to sit there and if you're a Tennessee fan, and again, I'm not going to pretend to be a Tennessee fan and pretend that I tossed and turned all night. But if you want to say, damn it, man, I know it's the playoff era. I know we're not supposed to lose sleep over one loss. I know this was different. I know how bad you wanted to beat Georgia. And I don't even know what the analogy is, but Georgia has some sort of crazy voodoo over the Tennessee Volunteers right now.